Welcome to the only daily research news video report, your Research Business Daily Report. Well, we're sponsored today and this week by Nuance, offering multi-language verbatim coding services that help companies quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Nuance, a decision analyst company. I ran across 3 independent studies about corporations and their use or ineffective use of vital data, and I wanted to share that with you today. Start with Adobe's 2014 Digital Marketing Optimization Survey, which sums up that the top 20% of high-performing companies are more likely to be using data-driven testing, targeting, and automation. In fact, 70% of these 20% most effective companies are applying their collected data into some kind of data testing, they're evaluating tactics, and they're making forward-looking recommendations. On to study number 2 from Charterhouse. It's actually an update. Charterhouse is a European marketing production services company that did this study originally in 2011. And now it is really showing an astounding disconnect in corporations between the procurement and marketing departments. And that's having a very, very deep effect on data use. The report claims that 88% of Europe's corporate procurement professionals say that they can precisely calculate the business impact of marketing activity. And yet at the same time, 73% of the marketing spending by major corporations, according to Charterhouse, is going unmeasured for its return on investment. Concludes Charterhouse, 124 million euros on average in marketing spending from each big European marketing organization is not being measured for ROI by procurement. And that analysis void is in the face of what Charterhouse claims is a much improved collaboration between marketing and procurement. Sounds like there's more work to be done. On to study number 3. Last week we reported that NDP Media, which is a Chinese agency, was asserting that in its operation, big data is a programmatic advertising difference maker. Now, a joint AppNexus, WARC, and IAB Europe study says the majority of European agencies don't have a programmatic advertising strategy in place, and in fact 25% say they've never even heard of such a thing. Echoing beliefs heard at the ARF Audience Measurement Conference last week in New York, 89% of professionals in this study consider programmatic advertising to be a tool of the future. 42% do not even have a process for it in place right now. Finally, we promised you that we would present to you the interview we conducted during the Market Research Mobile World Conference in Chicago a few weeks ago with Don Marek. He's the Executive Director of MRII. It's our pleasure to present several surprising observations from this 40-year research industry veteran. What's your thought about the health and the state of the industry?
Actually, I think this industry is as good a shape as it's ever been. We've always had change. When I first started, we were going from door to door to Caddy. And then I remember when we went from Caddy to online marketing research, I mean, people thought the world was coming to an end and things are going too fast. I don't think the pace is any faster now that we're going to social media.
Really?
No, I think it's about the same. The other the thing I do find, and I do think, is whereas I may think these things are very complicated and hard to do, that's because I'm of the older generation. I think these younger people, i.e. like my kids, that they find this stuff very easy and it's not that fast for them.
What do you think about what their attitude is towards research? Because a lot of people our age want nothing to do with it. They don't want to answer the telephone to answer a survey. They don't want to be bothered at a mall. They don't want to be badgered online with a banner ad or an invitation to join a panel. What do you think the younger generation thinks about research?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they like those type things because they think it's intrusive. But that's why I think we need to go to different types of research. For example, mobile research. I do know there's a company up in Saskatchewan has had very, very good success with that. But they're using the SMS texting as the way to collect data, and it works very, very well. And their respondents are 30 and under in males. So it's just we have to adjust to them. I once had a boss once that told me that I was spending too much on research. What I hadn't really found out was that took me 20 minutes to get a respondent with my caddy system, so once I got somebody, I needed to ask them 6 different surveys at once, an hour and a half. That was just wrong. So yeah, there's just different ways of doing it. And the other thing I like about mobile is the fact that the surveys have to be short. We as an industry have always had far too long surveys. I think you should have a short survey that's to the point. I will also say that when we had our caddy system, we studied it. And actually, people, when they answer a telephone survey, if it's too short, they don't particularly care for it. They didn't think it was a serious study. I think with the new mobile, a really short study still looks serious. So I think it's a wonderful step forward, the mobile and big data. I think the big data is huge. When you start looking at social media, you get into text analytics, which basically is you get so much information so quickly. A human being cannot read that and make and understand it. You need a machine to go through and pick out the salient points and then point you towards what's most important. So, to me, I just see it's more advancement in big data, more research from social media, etc. You get into on social media, are the findings projectable or not? I don't know about that, but it does allow you to find out exactly how people feel positive or negatively about a product, and I think that's huge. That's a huge step forward. So
okay.
I think they're all very good.
You've been involved, obviously, with MRII for some time now, right. Which means you've been in on helping to train right. a lot of the researchers of tomorrow.
Right.
How do you look at that situation? Are we getting good people? Are we getting enough good people? What more could we do to get additional, young bucks into the industry?
Well, first of all, I don't know about young bucks. There's a lot of young women, but
too. Okay, my apologies.
Yes, but I will also say though that, and I'll say the same thing I said at SMR up in Athens about 5 years ago. If you want really good people in the industry, you need to recruit them and you need to pay them a decent starting salary instead of making them unpaid interns, et cetera, et cetera. I'm amazed at how bright the young students are and how good they are, the young graduates. So I don't think that'll be a problem at all. I do think they need a little bit more training. What most people don't realize in research, and I had 26 years with one of the largest firms in the world, is when I was the analyst, when a project was finished, and the executive always wanted to hear about it because it cost a lot of money, and my boss and her boss or his boss, they couldn't go up there and explain everything, so they always took me. So as a young analyst, I had access and observed even our very top people as a result of being in research. It was very exciting. Most of my other friends in operations and sales never saw the big boss. So it's a very exciting area, especially if you've got an analytical mind and you're curious. And when I used to do research, especially in the old days when I had a huge budget, I used to like to do experiments and things, and I, about what would really happen. That was some of the best stuff we did. So I like research. I love research a lot.
I'm not looking for a pat on the back in asking this question, but what do you think of the idea that I keep pushing so aggressively, and that is trying to create more of a market research interest in the undergraduate level?
I think that's a very good idea. For example, my daughter is a very good journalist, and she lived in London. And while she was over there, a friend of mine in the research industry went over, and he called her up to go out to dinner. So she and her husband and he went out to dinner. And my daughter said before she went to dinner, she decided she didn't know anything about research, didn't know the person, so she'd treat it like an interview. And when she finished interviewing or having dinner with that person, she said, Dad, that's a really interesting area, and it's a lot like reporting. I could do that, and I could do it well, and that's very interesting. And that is actually the same as reporting when you're looking at it. So I think it's very good.
Don, congratulations on your career. Good luck in your retirement. I don't think you're really going to be saying goodbye, but if you are, the best of luck.
Well, thank you very much. And like I say, I really have enjoyed everybody in the industry, and I do intend to keep up with people after I retire.
We thank Don for his time, his input. We congratulate him on his career, and we offer him our sincerest hopes for great things moving forward. That's your Research Business Daily Report, sponsored by Nuance, offering multi-language verbatim coding services that help companies quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Nuance, a decision analyst company. Like to know more about Nuance? Well, we've got a link to help you do that. It's www.nuancecoding.com. Why should you click on it? Because several companies recently have done just that, and they've gone back to Nuance to find out more. Have a great research day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.